All right, so thank you very much for coming. We're very happy to see so many people interested in our subject of reincarnation. So we're going to begin with a little meditation. You see, this is part of the yoga teachings, and there's many different yoga systems. But in all the different yoga teachings or systems or paths, meditation is one of the main activities. So that's how we're going to begin. And there's three reasons for this. Number one, we've probably been quite active or busy all day, and we need to relax, slow down, settle in a little bit. Number two, the meditation will help us to understand our subject matter a little more clearly, a little more easily. And finally, you get to learn the meditation, and you can take it home with you. So, in the packages that you receive, there are 2 cards with mantras on them. This is the type of meditation we're going to be doing. Mantras are transcendental sounds. They originate in the spiritual realm and descend into the material realm. Because they come from the spiritual dimension, they bring with them great spiritual power. When we come in contact with this sound vibration, automatically we will receive great spiritual benefit. So, in the package, there's 2 mantra cards. We're going to use the one that has Gauranga Nitai Gaur on it. Everyone see that one? Gauranga Nitai Gaur. This is a mantra made from 2 mantras, really, but we're just going to use the top, Gauranga. Okay? You will notice Gauranga is divided into 4 syllables, Go, Ra, Ang, Ga. And to just make sure we have our pronunciation correct, we can practice saying that now. First, I will say the mantra, and then everyone can respond. Okay, everybody ready? Go, Ra, Ang, Ga. Go, Ra, Ang, Ga. Go, Ra, Ang, Ga. Go, Ra, Ang, Ga. Very good. Now, our technique is also very easy. It's a deep breathing technique. We begin by breathing in through our nose very slowly and gently, but also very deeply. We want to take the air all the way down to the lower abdomen. When we inhale silently in the mind, we will chant Go, Ra, Ang, Ga. Then, when our body's filled with air, we begin to exhale. And out loud, we chant Go, Ra, Ang, Ga. And then we'll repeat this several times. Before we begin, we want to relax. And to help us relax, we're going to take a big breath and let it out. Then, while we do the meditation, we want to listen very closely to the sound and also put our mind on the sound. In other words, meditate on the sound. I'll give you a demonstration so you can see exactly how it works. And then we can all do it together. And we always encourage everyone to take part in the meditation. Okay, so here's the demonstration. I'm going to begin by taking a big breath and relaxing. Now very slowly, gently, and deeply I inhale and chant Gauranga in the mind. Go, Ra, Ang, Ga. Go, Ra, Ang, Ga. All right, it's just that easy. So let's all do that now. It's good to sit erect in your seat. This helps us to breathe. Feet flat on the floor is actually the best. Now all you have to do is simply follow my guidance. Remember to relax, meditate on the sound, and when we finish, just sit quietly for a couple of moments so you can feel the effect. Okay, everybody take a big breath. Let it out and relax. And now very slowly, gently and deeply inhale and chant Gauranga in the mind. 2 more times. Haribo. So you can see this is a very easy meditation to do. And maybe also found it's quite relaxing. It's an excellent way to start your day. It's also an excellent way to end the day just before you go to sleep at night. So take your cards with you and you can practice on your own. And just as a reminder, tomorrow night we're giving a complete presentation on meditation, so we invite you. Before I begin, I always offer my respects to all of our great spiritual teachers, masters, known as acharyas, who have brought this knowledge to us. The information that I'll be presenting comes from the Vedic scriptures. The Vedas are very ancient scriptures, being written down 5,000 years ago. However, the knowledge is eternal. So, prior to being written down, it was passed down orally from one perfect master to the next. And such a line of perfect teachers is known as a disciplic succession or parampara. A parampara is necessary for the truth to descend in its pure form. We are in the parampara known as the Brahma Sampradaya and feel very fortunate to receive our knowledge through this lineage. So this is not my opinion. I'm just passing on this eternal science. Reincarnation is a very interesting subject. More and more people becoming interested in it. It's also sometimes a controversial subject. It's interesting that in America in the 1980s, they took a survey, and that time they found that 23% of the population accepted reincarnation. A recent survey showed that now 60% of the population accepts reincarnation. So there's been a great increase in receptivity. Many lectures given on the subjects, books written on the subjects, now there's videos on the subject, etc. But even so, very few people understand reincarnation. So that's going to be our focus tonight. So this presentation is more educational than sensational. I think often people come to reincarnation lectures expecting some sensational event. Gee, maybe he'll reincarnate on stage. See? I don't think so. In other words, it's not planned. Of course, we never know. See? But we're going to try to explain it in a very clear way so you can understand exactly not only what it is, but how it works. And to do that, we have to understand who is reincarnating. And of course, you could say, well, I am or we are. And yes, that's true. But the next question would be, who are we? The Vedas say that we should all ask ourselves exactly this question: who am I? But unfortunately, we almost never ask this question because we think we already know the answer. Now, certainly we all have our identities. We've had them our whole life. We've got them in our minds, we have them on our lips, we even have them in our pockets. Meaning, this is who I think I am, this is who I tell others I am, and I can even prove it. Here's my passport, my documents. We accept this, and so does everybody else. But is this our true identity? And upon close examination, we will find this is only a compilation of many labels. And the labeling process begins at birth. So, all of us here right now, as soon as we took birth, received one of two labels, male or female. And we still identify like that today. I'm a man or I'm a woman. At that same time, we get another label according to our race, Caucasian, Negroid, whatever it may be. Our national identity can be very strong. I am Norwegian, I am British. And our family identity. We belong to this family. And actually, this identity is so strong that every day on this planet, one person kills another person simply because they have a different label. And this is just the beginning. Many, many labels come and go throughout our entire life. So once again, at birth, we're also known as babies. Then kids, we start school, now we're students. A few more years go by and we become teenagers. And then finally adults. We take up some profession in life and we're known accordingly. Doctors, lawyers, secretaries, nurses. Then we get married, and immediately we're a husband or a wife. We have a child. Now we're parents, fathers, mothers. A few more years go by, grandfathers, grandmothers. And this is how we see ourselves. When we think of ourselves, this is me, this is who I am. And this continues on and on until we finally get the last label, dead. You see? But if we look closely, we find that this is only in relation to our material bodies. It's true, the body is male or female, black or white, old or young, big or little. Whatever the body is, it is. That's true. The question is this who we are? You see, every day we all take our pilgrimage to the mirror to see how we look. Sometimes we're a little disappointed, but we always come back the next day. Gee, maybe there's been some improvement, you see. But do we really see ourselves? So the question is, am I this material body? If we want the most authoritative answer, we should go to the revealed scriptures of the world. And there we will quickly learn, no, you're not the material body. But this is the modern world. And very rarely does anyone go to scripture to find the truth in life. However, we do readily accept the conclusion of the scientist. You see, we like the scientists because they prove things. And uniquely enough, in this case, the scientists have proven in their laboratories that we're not our material bodies. They discovered that in the human body, there's no cell that lives more than 5 years. Some cells have a very short life. For instance, the lining of our stomach, those cells live 5 days. Our skin cells, 1 month. Liver cells, 6 weeks, etc. But in 5 years, everything has changed. So if I'm looking at a photograph of myself taken 10 years ago, the eyes in the photograph are actually different than the eyes I'm looking at the photograph with. They're not the same eyes. According to this scientific formula, if I'm 35 years old, I've had 7 bodies. But of course, we all know we're not 7 different people. Everybody knows I'm still me. So the changing factor is the material body, and the constant factor is ourself. Yeah, we're not these material bodies. Now, at this point, some people become meditative or introspective. They begin to look inside to find out who they really are. And when we look inside, what do we find? Well, there's emotion, desire, feeling, will. It's all very real. And it's easy to conclude, aha, this is who I really am. But we must confirm this with Scripture, and especially the Vedic Scriptures, because they're very detailed in this knowledge. And when we do, we find we've made another mistake. This is not who we are either. This is actually another material body. It's called the subtle mental body. Sometimes it's called the astral body. I know some of you have heard of the astral body. So really we have 2 bodies. We've got our physical body and our mental body. Exactly like 2 layers of clothing, an outer layer and an underlayer. But the question remains, who am I? So once again, we go to the Vedas, and there we learn that we are in a different category of energy. Now, everything is energy, and our bodies are material energy. But we learn that we are spiritual energy. And we further learn we're a tiny little spark of spiritual energy. We learn that material energy is temporary, and that's very easy to see. We know all too well our bodies are very temporary. So much so we don't even want to talk about it. Hey, don't talk about that, see? But even the more permanent things like this building, come back here in 1,000 years. Gee, where was that lecture again? See, temporary. But we learn that spirit is eternal. Eternal means no beginning and no end. So, we are eternal. We also learn that material energy is non-living. And again, that's easy to see. This table or this microphone is no life. But we learn that spirit is life itself. There's no such thing as live matter. There's no such thing as dead spirit. We are the life force in the body. And as long as we're present in the body's called alive. But actually, this is not true. The body's dead. We are alive. And that becomes very obvious at the time of death. At the time of death, we leave the body. And at that moment, the body reveals its true nature. Can't even sit in a chair. Falls on the floor. See? So, we are the life force in the body. Therefore, our true identity is spirit soul. Spirit meaning that we're spiritual in essence. Soul meaning the individual spiritual spark that we eternally are. We never become someone else. We never cease to exist. Now, for some people, this is very depressing news. What? I'll always be me? Gee, I thought it'd be over soon. Sorry, it's never over. But when we learn the truth in life, this becomes very wonderful news. So once again, we're spirit soul. And we further learn we're a part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. There is a Supreme Soul from which we all come. We are known as the Atma. The Supreme Soul is the Paramatma. Now, understanding this, we can begin to discuss and hopefully understand reincarnation. The concept of reincarnation is very simple. In fact, the word is self-explanatory. The root of the word is carnal. Carnal means flesh and blood, or material body. Incarnation means in a material body. Reincarnation means to re-enter another material body. Right now, we are present in these bodies. And we know that we entered these bodies at a certain point, and we also must accept that at one point we're going to leave these bodies. And that period of time between entering the body and leaving the body is known as our life. If we stay in the body a short time, 1 year, 2 years, whatever, we had a very short life. If we stay in the body a long time, 80, 90 years, we had a very long life. You see. And of course, the idea is when we leave this body, we will go into another body and live a future life, and then one after that, etc. And before entering this body, we were present in a previous body in a previous life, and there was one prior to that, etc., etc. This is known as the wheel of birth and death, the cycle of birth and death. In Sanskrit terminology, samskara, round and around, one body to the next. Now, of course, some people don't accept this, and one of their main arguments is you can't prove it. But actually, if that person would look at what he can see, he could prove it to himself. For instance, as we've just discussed, our bodies are constantly changing. The body we had on when we were a little baby is absolutely different than the body we have on now. And if we're in an old body, we've changed many times. Take out the photo album. Look, here I was a little baby, here I was at 5, and here I was in high school, and here I was, and so on. And you can see so many different bodies. But it's, I was here, I was here, I was here. See, we're always changing bodies. See, that's called reincarnation. But look at it another way. In nature, we know that there's a living entity called a caterpillar, and they're quite interesting to look at. Some of them have nice colors, but because of that body, most people leave them alone. I mean, not too many people have pet caterpillars. But we know that at one point, this caterpillar will spin a cocoon around itself and disappear from our view. And then later, out of this cocoon comes a very beautiful butterfly. Everybody likes butterflies. Symbol of spring, symbol of summer, symbol of freedom, see? Nobody likes caterpillars, everybody likes butterflies. But we all know it's the same life. No one thinks that in the middle of the night, the caterpillar secretly left the cocoon, the butterfly came in, and then came out the next day to fool us. See, everybody knows the caterpillar, the butterfly, same. Different body, same life. Frogs, same thing. Go down in the spring to the marshy areas, here's all the little jelly eggs. Come back a few weeks later, here's these little fat guys swimming in the water. Come back in a few more weeks, here's these little frogs hopping around. Oh, where's the tadpoles? Oh, here they are. No, that's a frog. Where's the tadpole? No, we don't do that because we know the frog was the tadpole, etc. Same life, different body. And it's the only philosophy that makes sense. We've established that we are eternal, you see. We have to reside somewhere. And in the material world, we reside in material bodies. We're known as embodied souls, souls in bodies. So, when we leave this body, we have to go to another body. Think of it like this. Say you live in an apartment complex. And one day you receive a notice in the mail. In 1 month, they're going to come and demolish your building. In 1 month, the demolition team arrives and completely destroys your building. But do you cease to exist? Of course not. You just move out of that apartment, you move into another apartment, and life goes on. So in the same way, when the demolition team comes for this apartment, in the form of an accident, disease, old age, whatever it is, and destroys this department, we simply move out of this one, move into another one, and life goes on. See? Now, if you've been following this and maybe accepted it a little bit, the question might arise, well, gee, how does it work? I mean, who controls all of this? Who decides what body I get? In other words, there's many bodies, aren't there? The Vedas tell us there's 8,400,000 different species of life. See? So we can go into another human body, animal body, an insect body, plant body, whatever. See, so many. So the question is it an accidental thing? Is it a random thing? Is it like the lottery? Do I simply win a particular body? Or is there a higher authority up there making this decision? Okay, this lifetime you'll be a dog, you'll be a fish, you'll be a human, see. Is there anything I can do about it? Do I have any control over this situation? And fortunately enough, there's answers to all these questions, see. There are three main factors that control reincarnation. The first is material desire, second, material attachment, and the third, karma. So we're going to look at each one of these and see what role it plays. And we also must understand that the soul by nature has many inherent qualities. Qualities that are always present. You cannot separate them from the soul. For instance, wetness is an inherent quality of water. See, here's water in the glass. I haven't touched it, but I know it's wet. Why? Because all water is wet. Whether it comes from the sky, from the tap, from the river, it doesn't matter. Water is wet. Inherent characteristic. Heat and light are inherent characteristics of fire. So in the same way, the soul has many inherent characteristics. One of these is desire. We all have our desires. In fact, if I gave you a paper and a pencil and I said, Just write down your desires. Very quickly somebody would say, you got any more paper? So many desires. And these desires take us through our life. We're always trying to follow these desires, satisfy these desires. For instance, we're all here. Why? Because you had a desire to hear about reincarnation, and that desire brought you here. But there's a lot of other people who had other desires. It took them other places. Some people in the library, some people in the movies, some people in the bar, some people at home watching television, in the restaurant, whatever. See? And as we follow these desires, other desires appear. And we follow them and other desires. So it's ever expanding, ever increasing. For instance, there's a young guy in his apartment, 6 o'clock in the evening. He gets a little hungry, it's time to eat. No problem. There's a lot of food in the apartment. But at that moment, he gets a message from his mind and from his tongue. I don't want this food. I want a pizza. So, being very subservient to the demands of the mind and the tongue, he gets up and begins to walk to the restaurant. And along the way, he's doing a little innocent window shopping. Now, there's no such thing as innocent window shopping. That's why they put the good stuff in the window, see? So he's looking, and he sees a display of watches. Immediately, he stops because he's one of those people that always looks at watches. And quickly, he sees one watch that catches his eye. He likes the way it looks. He likes the features. And out of nowhere comes a desire. I want that watch. But it's late. The shop is closed. It's an expensive watch. Can't afford it. So he continues on down to the restaurant, goes inside, sits down, orders the pizza, and thinks about the watch. How am I going to get that watch? I know my friend owes me money. I'm going to collect that money. Oh, and this watch, it's not so bad. I'll sell it on the internet. You know how we do. We arrange our finances. And as he's thinking like this, a very beautiful young lady comes in and sits at the table right next to his. He has a new desire. I want to meet that young lady. So then he starts thinking about, oh, what is the best approach? See? It's about this time the pizza arrives. Oh, pizza, I forgot about the pizza. So anyway, to make a long story short, he invites her to join him for dinner, and she accepts. And they have a fantastic evening. See? So easy to talk to each other. They have so many things in common. Gee, it's like they knew each other before. See? And so by the end of the evening, they've exchanged contacts and even arranged for a meeting next week. Next week, they meet as planned, and another fantastic evening. After a few such meetings, he has a new desire. I want to marry this lady. So he gets married. Then he has a desire for a house. He gets the house. Then he has a desire for kids. He gets the kids. Then he has a desire for the kids to grow up like this, to grow up like that, to go to this university, to that university, etc. And it all started with a pizza. See? And that's life. We go through our whole life like this. And we come to the end of our life with our desires. Now, those desires go with us into our next life. When we leave our body at the time of death, the only thing we leave behind is the gross physical body. We are still covered by the subtle mental body. And the mental body is the body of desire. And according to our desires, that body has a certain shape. For instance, our hand has a certain shape, and a glove is designed to fit the shape of the hand. So in the same way, according to the shape of our mental body, our next physical body will fit perfectly over that body. Another example is the sport of hang gliding. I think everybody knows the sport where you climb up to a high place, put a mechanical wing on your back, jump off, and hope for the best. And if all goes well, it's great. Amazing views, so fantastic. Freedom, never had such freedom. Riding the air currents, everything is great. And from that moment, you never look at a bird in the same way again. You're always looking at birds, how they take off, how they land, how they ride the air currents. And you realize quickly, of course, they do this a lot better than I do. And you know there's one thing that you always have that they never have, and that's fear. You know always in the back of your mind, if not in the front of your mind, if something goes wrong, I got a big problem. But birds aren't thinking like that. I mean, how many birds you ever see crash? It is you sit in. And so some of these guys even start talking about which bird they would like to be. Of course, they all want to be eagles. Nobody said, yeah, I think I'd like to be a crow, So you come to your end of your life with these desires, no problem. Next lifetime, you peck your way out of a shell, your body's covered with feathers, and you fly your whole life. You see? As man proposes, God disposes. I was a surfer for many years, and we realized that the dolphins, those guys do it really good, man. They don't get cold, they don't have to go in when it's dark, it's not too crowded for them, and so on and so on, see. So many of those dolphins are ex-surfers. And it makes sense, you get what you want. So, that's the idea. Our desires keep us on the wheel of birth and death. As long as we have these desires, we will get another material body to fulfill those desires. Second factor was material attachment. And certainly we're all attached. See, you develop attachment so quick, And why? Because it's the inherent nature of the soul to be attached. And these attachments are like ropes that bind us to the wheel of birth and death. They're like anchors that hold us here. You go for a little walk one day, and out of nowhere, here comes a nice little dog. And it's like the dog knew you or something. He just follows you, always looks back at you, stays beside you, rubs against your leg. And by the time the walk's over, you're attached to this guy. Gee, I'd like to take him home, but no, I don't have any place in my life. But you park in the same parking place 2 nights in a row. Come back the third night, somebody's there. Who's in my parking place? You see? Attachments like that. And there's different categories of attachments. See? One, we can be attached to things. We can be attached to money and cars and houses and positions and fame and so on. And they can be very strong. But we know the really strong attachments are personal attachments, attachments to another person. For instance, let's say you have a new car, and you go out from work one day and you find that somebody stole your car. And because of this attachment, immediately you're angry, you're frustrated. My car, see? But hey, it's just a car. You can buy another one. You got insurance, they'll even pay for it, see? But if you go home that night and find that somebody stole your wife, that's another whole story. Of course, somebody might say, oh, thank you very much. See? Actually, I knew one old man that said, I've been waiting 55 years for somebody to run off with my wife, and they never have. And actually, they never did. He died first. See? There's a young soldier getting ready to go into a very dangerous battle, and he knows, gee, I might not come back. So he takes the picture of his girlfriend out of his pocket, looks at it one last time, feels that attachment, goes into battle, gets killed. Big effect on his next life. Keeps him on the wheel of birth and death, you see. So material attachments also keep us here. And third is karma. Now, I'm sure everybody's heard of karma, but I remember many, many years ago when I heard the word, I didn't even know what it meant. Well, karma, what is that, you see? Now, they use it in all kinds of ways. There was a surfboard named Karma, surfboards, and many things, see? But really, what karma is one of the laws of material nature. It's not a new law. It's been around the duration of the material existence, you see. In the material world, there's many laws of material nature, and they control us. We're under the control of these laws. On the Earth planet, there's a law of gravity, see. You can say, I don't believe in gravity. There's no such thing. Okay, no problem. But please, climb up to the top of the building and jump off. And immediately you discover gravity. Gee, it's real, you see. It was there all the time. So karma's like that. The word karma means action. So really we could say the law of karma is the law of action. And it's been mentioned in various scriptures, always. In the Holy Bible it says, as you sow, so shall you reap. See? What goes around comes around, popular saying. Everything you do is going to come back on you, another popular saying. So, how does it work exactly? Karma means action, so we could say it's the law of action. Now, another characteristic of the soul is always active by nature. Everywhere you find the presence of the soul, you'll find activity. Even in seemingly immovable objects like a tree. So you say, trees never move except when the wind blows. But of course, we learned in our biology classes, our botany classes, there's a lot of activity in a tree. There's nutrition drawn from the ground, there's sap rising, there's photosynthesis taking place at the leaves, fruit is produced, etc. Why? Because there's a person inside that body. Dead trees don't do any of these things. That activity is an indication of the presence of the soul. So, the law of karma states, if the activity that I perform affects the life of another living entity, and notice I'm saying living entity here, not just humans, any life form. If I affect the life of another living entity in a negative way, somehow I cause them some pain, suffering, hardship, death, I'm responsible for that. So in the future, I will have to experience pain, suffering, hardship, death. That will be my punishment, see. Bad action, bad results, bad karma. But if the activity I perform affects the life of another living entity in a positive way, somehow I make their material life a little better. See, I help a sick person, I feed a hungry person, I'm saying kind words even, I do charity work, welfare work, do some work with animals, whatever it is, you see. That's a good thing. That's a good action. So I will be rewarded for that in the future. Good things will come back to me. That's called good karma. Good action, good results, good karma. So we go through our whole life creating karma. We come to the end of our life with our karmic picture. And that karma goes with us into our next life also, you see. If we have any karma, even if it's all good, and good luck on that, see, we will still have to take another material body to get our rewards, see. So as long as I have any karma, I will have to stay on the wheel of birth and death to get the results. So there we have it. If I have karma, attachment, or material desire, I will remain on the wheel. Now there are a lot of untruths or misconceptions circulated about reincarnation. One is, of course, there's no such thing, it's not true. Well, we don't accept that. That's not correct. Number two, yes, it's true, but only for a certain number of lifetimes. And I've heard many numbers. 15, 25, 100, recently someone said 108. You see. The idea being, after 25 lifetimes on the wheel of birth and death, going from one body to the next, I automatically get off. My time is up, 25 cycles and finished. But if we've been following this conversation, then after 25 lifetimes, I still have my material desires, material attachments, and material karma. What's going to get me off the wheel? So that's not true. Other people say, yes, reincarnation is true, but only among humans, you see. In other words, once a human, always a human. You started as a human, and you will continue to be a human. Again, that's not true. What about the hang glider that becomes the bird? You see, all kinds of different life forms. According to the Vedic scriptures, we've been in all these different life forms over many, many millions of lifetimes. See, now we're in the human body. So, the question then might be, well, what about it? Is reincarnation a good thing or a bad thing? Good question. See, you might ask one person, it's great. See, it's a wonderful thing. See, that's a person who's experiencing the result of good karma. Life is good. But talk to a person who's experiencing the result of bad karma. Oh man, not again. See, There's a book, Reincarnation Explained, very complete work on the subject, you see. And I know one boy, he read this, and he was so excited, you know, so much information there, that he went home and he showed it to his mother. Mom, I want you to read this book. She looked at the title, Reincarnation Explained. She said, oh, no, I'm not reading that book. If it's true, I don't want to know about it, see. Well, what kind of an approach is that? We call this the ostrich approach. What does the ostrich do when the enemy comes? Sticks his head in the sand. There's no problem. See, no enemy here. See? We don't consider the ostrich the most intelligent bird. See? If it is true, we should want to know about it. See? And reality is, it is true and it's not good. See? It's not good for the soul. Remember, we're dealing on the level of the spirit soul here, not on the material levels of the body and the mind. So for the spirit soul, it's not good. And the reason is because for the spirit soul, the world is a foreign place. This is not really our home. This is where we are. We've been here so long, we've forgotten this truth of our identity, etc. So we accept it. But really, our true home is in the spiritual realm. We learn from our Vedic teachings that there's two distinct worlds, a material world and a spiritual world, see? And so it even sounds correct, spirit, soul in the spiritual world. Yeah, that sounds right. But spirit, soul in the material world? That doesn't sound right. It's like oil and water. You can put the two together, but they never mix. Sometimes we're referred to as the fish out of water, you see. The fish is an aquatic, and its natural home is in the water. So the moment you remove the fish from the water, it begins to suffer. See, it's flopping, it's squirming. Of course, fishermen don't pay too much attention. Oh, another flopper, and he just flick one over there, and he, see. But the fish is not experiencing that good time, you see. He's gasping, and you want to help the fish. You go up to him and you say, oh, Mr. Fish, you don't look so good. Let me try to help you here. Oh, let's see, what can I do? How about, let's go to the movies. See, Jaws is playing. How about the restaurant? You know, there's a nice seafood restaurant right around the corner. Let's go shopping. Shopping always makes you feel better. I got a lot of room on my card. Let's go. How about some ladies? I know many nice ladies. Nothing works. You can't help this guy except put him back in the water. All problems solved. Finished, see? So we're like that fish. We're gasping, going through life. But we've been gasping so long, and so does everybody else. It's normal, see? We all gasp together and have a nice time. But when you learn how it should be, maybe you say, I want to change this. You see, most people don't see all these problems as problems, see? In the material world, we've got to deal with birth, disease, old age, and death. Inevitably so, see? Now, who sees birth as a problem? Many people say, oh, birth is wonderful, see? But for the guy being born, it's not so cool, you know? It describes, in the Vedas, life in the womb. And it's a very hellish, suffering condition. That's why the babies are always in there kicking and squirming and, you know, let me out of here, you know. And the mama's going, oh, my little baby, he's so nice. And he's going, man, I'm tired, I gotta go, you know. And then the birth experience itself, you know, he's shot down this little pipe, you know. He comes out. You know, you ever seen a newborn baby? They don't look like they had such a, what's the matter, man? Don't even tell me about it. I don't talk about it, you see. It was so dynamic, we don't remember it. See, anybody remember your birth? See, actually, uniquely enough, I was giving a lecture in Moscow one time. After the lecture, this man came up to me and he said, I do remember my birth. I remember being in the womb. I remember being born. I remember my mom taking me, putting me on her breast. And I said, wow, can you describe it to me? And he described it almost word for word, exactly like it's described in the Vedas, you see. So, birth is a problem, see. And then, what? Disease. We don't like disease. We don't like to get sick, but inevitably we do, see. And even a small little thing like a flu or a cold, It's so uncomfortable, isn't it? See? And then, if we make it through all of that, what do we come to next? Old age. Oh, great, finally, I made it. I've been waiting all my life for this. See? No. Some people call it the golden years. That was some young guy that said that. See? Talk to the old guy. How is it? Oh, man, it's hell, you know. See? And then the grand prize of all, see, death. The most fearful event of all events, see. And then guess what? We get to do it all over again, you see. Now, it's not supposed to be like this. See? We're not supposed to be here. You know, we're aliens. In America especially, I don't know, maybe here too, there's big interest in aliens. Right now in the deserts of Nevada, there's people that camp out there and almost basically live there waiting to see the UFOs and the aliens, you know. Oh, they got an alien in Site 51, and the government won't tell us what he is and what he looks like. See? You want to see an alien? Yeah. Go look in the mirror. You see? We're all aliens. We're not from here. You know, E.T. Go Home, if anybody saw that movie, you know. See? Ooh, yeah, I want to go home. You see? And you can go home. It's possible. But it's not so easy, you see. And how do we solve these problems? We have to change our problem-solving approach. You see, in our common, ordinary life, when we have a problem, what do? We sit down and think about it, see. Thinking about our problems. And if we can't solve our problem, we call our friend, hey, can you help me think about my problem? He goes, yeah, sure, can you help me think about mine? See? And if you want real professional help, you go to the psychiatrist. Can you help me think about my problem? Oh, sure, lay down right here, put your wallet right up here. He looks and says, oh, a lot of money. Tell me all your problems, you see. But it doesn't work. You see, we have to change our approach. Let's take an example. There's this guy, he hears about karma, and then he accepts it, okay? And then he starts thinking about his life as it is today, and he's going, gee, man, I need to change a lot of things, you know. And of course, most people are worried about bad karma. You know, I mean, when I heard about it, I thought, ooh, gee, that doesn't sound too good. See? And so he's thinking about his life, and he's thinking about the karma involved and everything, and he's going, man, I got so much karma. Then he realized even my eating is creating karma, see? So he thinks about how to solve that. He comes up with a very good solution. I'm going to become a vegetarian, see? I'm not going to eat those cows and pigs and chickens and things anymore, because when they're killed, they suffer. I eat their bodies. I'm involved in that whole thing. I get the karma. No. I'll be a vegetarian. And we say, great, excellent idea. You will definitely reduce your karma in a big way. It's good, but it's not good enough. Because even though you're a vegetarian, you still have to kill the carrot. You got to cut the head off the cabbage. He goes, oh man, what am I going to do now? Back to thinking. See? Aha, I know, I'll be a fruitarian. I just eat fruit because you don't have to kill the tree. So all his thinking has made him quite hungry. He happens to be sitting beside an apple tree, and there's a big apple right there. So he gets ready to pick that apple, and then he stops. No, I'm not going to pick that apple. I might hurt the tree. I'm going to wait till that apple falls on the ground. Then I'll eat the apple. See? So he waits and he waits. He gets very hungry. Finally, the apple falls. He rushes over, picks it up, and quickly eats it. No karma. But what about all those people he stepped on the way over to pick up that apple? What about all the people living on the apple? What about that lone guy living in the apple? You see, you can't avoid karma like this. In India, there's a sect known as the Jains. Probably some of you have heard of the Jains. And their goal in life is actually to avoid any bad karma. So, in their efforts to do so, they wear all white clothes. So if a little bug gets on them, they can gently take it off. They wear masks so they don't breathe anybody in and hurt them. They sweep the path in front of them as they walk so they don't step on anybody. They don't even light fires because they know there's people that live in fire. And when you put out the fire, they suffer, see. I saw a documentary on them one time. And the house was full of rats. There was even a rat sitting on this guy's head. Can't hurt the rats, you see. But actually, it doesn't work. You see, you can't do it like that. There's only one way, and this is the difficult part. We must accept the instructions of the higher authority. And this is why it's hard, because we like to be the authority. We do not like to accept the guidance of the higher authority. We know that we have a free will, right? Our will be done is the motto of life in the material world. We become the center of our own universe, and everyone and everything revolves around us, you see. And so that's the goal, trying to make it so our will is fulfilled. But of course, it doesn't always happen. But that's what we want. Well, the Supreme Person also has a will, but his will is supreme. And his will is always done. Now, as long as I am acting independent of the supreme will, see, I'm just acting according to my little will independently, I am responsible for all my actions, and thus the law of karma. But if I connect my will with the supreme will, and what I do because it is the will of the supreme, then there's no karma for that activity. An example, there's a military pilot that flies his warplane over the, quote, enemy and drops his bombs. And those bombs cause so much pain, suffering, hardship, and death to so many people. Yet, when he returns to the air base, there's nobody waiting for him with handcuffs. In fact, if he did a good job, he's congratulated. But if that same pilot goes into town that night, gets in a fight, and kills one person, there is somebody waiting with handcuffs. And immediately he's taken to jail and he's charged with murder. Now what's the difference? Here he killed many people, here he killed one. Here he's congratulated, here he's incarcerated. The difference is, in the first case, he's acting on the sanction of a higher authority, so he's not responsible. Second case, he's acting independently, therefore he's fully responsible. See? So it works exactly like that. So, from the time I began to perform my activities of life in connection with the will of the Supreme, I create no karma. And not only that, but previous karma from this life and also previous lives is removed. See? Therefore, from that time in my life until the end of the life in this body, I create no new karma. All previous karma has been removed, and I come to the end of my life with no karma. So, 1/3 of the problem solved. But what about desires and attachments? Let's look at attachments first. We have so many attachments, you see, and it's a normal thing. But when we start to connect our will with the Supreme Will, of course, this brings us into association with the Supreme Person, and therefore a relationship begins to evolve. As a young secretary, and she graduates from university and gets her first job. And she needs this job. It's her survival, her rent, her food, everything. See, she must have this job, but she knows she's not a good secretary. So she's always worried she'll lose the job. When the boss comes into her little office, she's very nervous. Oh, see. And she's actually hoping, I hope he doesn't come in, you see. And when he goes away on a business trip, she's so happy. Gee, I hope he stays for a long time. See. When he returns, oh no. See. But over time, they associate with each other, a relationship begins to develop, and things change a lot, you see. Pretty soon she's telling the boss what to do. They go on a few business lunches together, things change even more. They go on a few business trips together, things change a lot. See, they get to know each other really well, they get involved, they get attached, they fall in love. See, a wife's worst nightmare. Wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. It happens all the time. Why? Because of the relationship. So along the way, the attachments change completely. At first, she's attached to her job. It's all about her, see. But gradually, that attachment is transferred from her to the boss. And now, everything is completely different, see. She thinks different. She acts different. So much difference, see. So it's the same. Her attachments were transferred from her personal life to the boss. When we begin to associate with the Supreme Person, our material attachments gradually diminish, our spiritual attachments increase, and ultimately, when the perfection is reached, we have no material attachment but strong spiritual attachment. And that's perfect. Remember, the soul's going to be attached anyway. There's a lot of people who have, tried, and there are philosophies that support this, that you can become completely non-attached, but you can't. This person says, I'm completely non-attached, see. But he's attached to his non-attachment, you see. Would you like this? Oh, no, don't touch anything, I'm not attached, see. How about some money? No. See, he's attached to his non-attachment. The soul will be attached. It's just a matter of, will it be material attachment, which keeps us on the wheel of birth and death, or spiritual attachment, which takes us off the wheel of birth and death, see. And then the third factor was desire, and it's all perfectly connected, you see. Again, the secretary, at first her desire was, I hope he doesn't come into office, but after the attachment and the relationship, gee, I hope he comes in soon. He goes on a business trip. Before it was, I hope he doesn't come back. Now, gee, I hope he takes me with him. See, I hope he comes back soon. And she's always thinking about him. Now she's out of the center and he's in the center. Her life is now revolving around him. Oh, what lipstick to wear, what perfume, what dress to wear, how should I fix my hair? Oh, she wants to help him. I'll be glad to stay after work. You don't have to pay me overtime. See, it's about pleasing him. First it was about pleasing herself. Now it's about pleasing him. See? So it's normal. It's not an unusual thing. And when that person becomes the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Person, then that becomes the perfection of life. So now the desire is how to please the Supreme Person. What does he want? See, what can I do now? What is next? See, always thinking like this. Now the universe revolves around him, not me. And this is how it's supposed to be. So we come to our end of our life in our human bodies, which is inevitable. And now we're perfectly set. See, we've now prepared properly. So we have no karma. Great. We have strong spiritual attachment. Perfect. And we have strong spiritual desire to be with the one that we're attached to and that we love. So when we leave the body, then we go directly to the spiritual realm. And we do not come back to the material world. See, that's a guarantee. See, it's guaranteed by the Lord. Once one returns to my supreme abode, he never takes birth in the material world again. So problem solved. But until that point of perfection, we will always take another birth, wherever it may be, in whatever body it may be, and we'll always be going through birth, death, the old age, disease, and all the things in between. See? So that's the only solution. And the process of yoga, as I said in the beginning, is many different yoga paths. But the path that brings about this ultimate perfection is called the path of bhakti yoga. Bhakti means devotion. Yoga means union with the Supreme. A devotional, loving union with the Supreme. See? And then the soul is perfectly situated in its natural condition. And everything is as it should be. So that's the idea, you see. And most people's interest in reincarnation, as I said, is sensational. You know, I remember one time, again in Moscow, I gave a different lecture on reincarnation, and I was told before the lecture began that in the audience would be an authority on reincarnation. So I go, great, you know, maybe he'll learn something. So immediately after the lecture, he comes to me and he says, introduced himself as the authority, and he says, do you know who you were in your last life? I said, yes. He said, who were you? I said, I was spirit soul, the same as now. He goes, no, I don't mean that. He said, I know who I was in my last 2 lives. He said, 2 lifetimes ago, I was a great yogi in the Himalayas. In the last lifetime, I was a very beautiful princess. And I was thinking to myself, you didn't do too good as a yogi, did you? Sitting in your cave thinking about women, you see. Take birth as a woman. You know. See, so what? You were this, you were that, you know. a friend of mine who teaches this philosophy also just met a girl who remembers her last life and how she died. She died as a young girl, fell off a swing and got killed. Many people remember their past lives, but so what? What does that solve? It doesn't solve anything. There's so many videos now where people have remembered very, very specific details from their last life that could be verified. And they verify it. The person couldn't have known it in any other way than to have been there. You see, you can find so much information like this appearing now. See, so it's not a question of is it true or is it not true. The question is, what are you going to do about it? See, are you going to stay on the wheel, or are you going to go back down, probably, to a lower form of life? Maybe by chance get a human birth. See, this is the idea. So we're going to do two things now. First, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about reincarnation. Everybody likes stories. There's so many, see. And then second, we're going to do another meditation, you see, because I know some of you won't be able to come tomorrow night. So we're going to do an additional meditation with an additional technique just for you to have that opportunity also. Okay, a couple stories. One is, kind of a common type story. There's so many, like I say. There was a girl, she was born in India, and she remembered her past life from early. And she was always talking about it. And at first her parents thought it was just childhood fantasy, but she continued to remember and talk, and she always wanted them to take her back to the village where she used to live. And so finally they agreed. And they traveled to the village, and immediately she remembered everything, and she took them to the house where she used to live. They go up and knock on the door. Of course, other people are living there now. And they open the door, and they explain to the people, oh, this is my daughter, and she used to live here in this house in her previous life. Can we come in? See, you can do that in India, no problem. See, maybe don't do it here. They'll call the blue lights, hey, it's got a problem here. See? So yes, please come in. So they went in the house, and again, she remembered everything. She took them to one room, and she said, this was my room. But she could see that still there was a little skepticism, So she said, all right, I'm going to prove it. I buried money under the floor right here. And she described the container of the money and the amount of money in the container. She said, let's open the floor, and if it's as I say, will you believe me? And they said, yes, we will believe you. So they opened up the floor, and there it was, the container, the money, everything. So, of course, we believed. But a story I like the most is because it happened to some friends of mine. I grew up with a girl named Carol, and we were very good friends. We went out together. We did many, many fun things together. But then at one point, we went separate ways in life, and I didn't see her for many, many years. Along the way, she got married to a man named Wally, and they were professional people, and they were quite well off financially, see. But they never had any children. However, they did have a dog, big Labrador retriever, see. And his name was Sergeant. And if you know Labrador retrievers, you know they're water dogs. They really love the water. So Sergeant was like their kid. And because of their financial situation, they had a vacation home by the sea. And every summer they would go there. And early in the morning, Wally and Sergeant would take a long walk down the beach. And Wally would throw a stick into the sea, and Sergeant would dive in, swim out, get the stick, come back, come up, drop it at Wally's feet, shake his body, throw water all over Wally. And then they'd walk a little further, another stick, another swim, another shake, etc. Until finally they reached a certain point, and then they'd turn around and they'd go home. And this went on for years. But as is inevitable, Sergeant got old and died. And this was a big tragedy, a big loss in the family because of attachment. You see, they'd lost their kid. So the next time they go down to the sea, things are different. Wally gets up early, takes his walk, but now he's feeling very sad. He's missing Sergeant. He gets to the turnaround place, and he starts back. And he notices that along the way, there are a school of dolphin, and they're swimming very close to the beach. And this is unusual. See, they're going at the same speed he's walking. So he stops and he begins to look. And as he's looking, one dolphin breaks away and swims straight toward the beach at a high speed. He comes right up on the sand and he stops at Wally's feet. Why? He said, I was shocked. And he said his first thought was, gee, how am I going to get him back into the ocean? See? Then that dolphin looked right in his eyes, and he recognized those eyes. Then the dolphin rolled on his back, shook his body, threw water all over Wally, rolled back over, wiggled back into the ocean, and he was gone. Wally became very emotional. He goes back, goes in the house, he's crying. Carol looks at him and says, what's wrong with you? He said, I just saw Sergeant. She said, what do you mean you saw Sergeant? And then he told her the story. And she knew he was telling the truth. See? So when I saw them years later, first she told me the story. Then he came home and he told me the story because they knew what I was into. See? And he was a radiologist, see, kind of a scientist kind of guy. And he told me, he says, you know, he said, I never believed in any of this stuff before. He said, I believe now. See? So it's very real, you know. So we need to think about these things. And do we want to stay on the wheel? Do we want to get off? Etc. So the one activity above all activities that can make our exit the most likely and actually bring us to this stage of success is mantra meditation. This is also declared in the Vedic scripture. These transcendental sounds have an amazing potency that can perform this magic, see. So again, tomorrow night we'll go into this in detail. But now, if you'll take your second mantra card, it has two mantras on it. Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, and Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. As before, we're going to chant the mantras, but we'll say them first so you can get the pronunciation correct. First I say the mantra, then you respond. Okay? Everybody ready? Hari Bol, everybody. Nitai Gaur. Nitai Gaur. Hari Bol. Hari Bol Nitai Gaur. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Gopala. Govinda. Rama. Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama. Madana Mohana. Great. Now the process is easy. You already know how to do it. It's called singing. Everybody knows how to sing. See? So we're going to sing the mantras. Don't worry a word about the quality of your singing voice. This is not a talent show. This is meditation. So just relax. Sing out loud. I'm going to play a guitar to make it easy to follow along. And meditate on the sound. Okay? So you have to sing loud so I can hear you, see. I have a microphone. I have the advantage, you see. So you can, but you have the number advantage, so it should work out even. Hari Bol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Everybody. Hare Bol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Hare Bol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol Nitai Gaur, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hare Bol, Nitai Gaur. Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur. Hari Bol.